Hello and welcome back to SnowRunner, y'all, and in this video we're going to be checking out the latest DLC truck, which is the Kenworth W990, which is available for about, or at least in USD, $3.99. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive into everything about this truck. We're going to fire it up, we're going to go through the customization, and then of course we are going to drive it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to be quiet so y'all can see the sights and sounds of this truck. I'm going to dial up the game audio so you can hear the horn, the engine, and all that good stuff. And as you can see, it actually looks like it's going to be a really good platform to build off of. There's a lot of room here on the frame, and also the tag axle is of course functional. And now let's go ahead and go into the garage and see what we can do with this thing in terms of customization. And now that we're in the garage, let's go ahead and check out our engine options. Now, it looks like this thing actually has a really good power to weight ratio right out of the gate. We're already talking about an S power to weight for rating. Or an S power to weight rating, not 4 rating. Not quite sure where that 4 came from, but all right. Now, as far as the S engine goes, you can go up from the 2300 to, of course, the 2600 TTA, the 2700T, and then, of course, the Prime C13. We're going to go ahead and jump into the Prime C13. And now, let's see, what do we have for transmissions? We have balanced, we have fine-tune, of course, high range, and off-road. We're going to start with off-road, and then we're going to go into the high-range transmission a little bit later on. Unfortunately, though, this truck does not seem to come with the option of a powered front axle. I mean, if you look directly underneath the truck, it's just a beam axle. There's no option to put any kind of diff up there. So you're not going to be dealing with power going to the front, which is a little bit of a letdown, especially for a truck like this, and also especially for a truck in the category that this thing is in. But either way, we're going to go ahead and run the raised suspension anyway. And then now in terms of tire options, do keep in mind that I am also running the new tire pack. Now, the tire pack is kind of strange because it's a vanilla game add-on where essentially what they do is you just pay for more vanilla tires, which I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that's a little bit iffy, or at least I'm a little bit iffy on that, especially look at this. These are paid tires where the tread doesn't even go above the top of the tire. It's just a texture. So, honestly, I'm not too sure how I feel about that. Well, okay, let me rephrase. I know exactly how I feel about it, but we're going to get into that in a different video. Now, let's see. If we keep on going down the list, we have, again, more of these just purely textured surface tires. See, look at that. The knobs of these tires should extend past the top of the tire and not just like, look, from the side, they just look like a slick. That bothers me. That bothers me so much. I tell you what, there's going to be a lot more where that came from, at least in terms of talking about that in like a discussion sense. Yeah, we're going to be talking more about that because that's kind of ridiculous. All right, let's go ahead and throw the advanced heavy winch in it. And then we're going to leave the engageable diff lock because that looks kind of like it comes as standard. And then let's see, we do get a spare wheel option in the back, which is good. And then as far as snorkels go, pretty simple, pretty basic. We've got some front-facing ones that sit right here along the edge of the hood. And then we've got some like roof level ones, which those are definitely going to be of pretty major advantage on a lot of the new maps, especially. Well, not even necessarily the new maps, but just about every map across the campaign. Honestly, in terms of these add-ons, I mean, it's pretty average. It's not necessarily anything ridiculous or over the top in terms of bringing new options to the table. It's more like if you want it, or at least it seems to me so far, that if you want a new vanilla truck simply to look at, this is going to kind of be an option. But if you're looking for something that brings an entirely new experience to the table, this is probably not going to do that for you. So let's see, what do we actually want to run? Honestly, probably going to run a high saddle because I feel like a lot of people are going to run this as a semi-truck. But moving on into some of the more visual upgrades that you can do, to be brutally honest, there isn't a whole lot. I mean, there's a little bit, of course, and it'll give you a little bit of visual flair, but it's not necessarily going to be anything that will blow your mind. I mean, you could do, well, I suppose you can add a little bit of like extra body paneling or extra aerodynamics, but I think honestly, the way the roof comes factory kind of looks a little bit better, especially what in the... I am not sure how to feel about that bumper. I feel like that bumper looks a little bit more like, I don't know. I am not feeling that bumper. I just kind of want to leave the stock bumper on it. I honestly feel like the stock bumper looks better. Let me know in the comments down below if you also think the stock bumper looks a little bit better. Again, I am not necessarily feeling too excited about this truck, at least not so far. Now let's see, we can do flap cap exhausts, and we could also do, oh, interesting. Those are directly lifted off another truck that's already in the game. I mean, they look really, really cool, but again, it's not necessarily like they're pushing the envelope. And if you run the standard tires, of course, you just get the factory wheels. I am not necessarily... What is this? I mean, I suppose if you want to run it, you totally can. And now, let me go ahead and just make it totally 100% transparent and clear that I'm not trying to talk badly about this truck. It just doesn't seem like it brings anything super revolutionary to the table or to the game. Now, obviously, if you want to run this paint job, that's fine. I'm not necessarily going to like criticize the paint job or talk crap about the paint job, but I don't know, y'all. This thing is definitely not... it's not impressing me yet. And now it's time to drive it to see if this thing is actually worth buying, which I'm not convinced yet. I'm entirely not convinced yet if it is. Now, or rather if it is or not, because I think a lot of people, especially at this point in SnowRunner, I feel like a lot of people feel like they have so many good options when it comes to mods, especially mods that can be tuned and upgraded and modified to really any level or style of gameplay, because a lot of mods can either be tailored to a totally vanilla gameplay style, or they can take that same exact truck and they can take it completely over the top and make it an absolute menace. So when you have that much choice in terms of how your mod like drives and plays and things like that, I feel like a lot of people are a little less inclined to pay for some of these vanilla DLC trucks. And to be fair to this thing, it's definitely not bad, at least so far. I mean, the fact that it lacks total drive to the front axle entirely is kind of a huge like negative about it for me personally, because there are a lot of vanilla trucks that I like, but a lot of the vanilla trucks that I like, especially a lot of the vanilla trucks in this particular category, are, surprise, surprise, trucks with driven front axles. Because when you're talking about a truck that has, like, already is going to be down on power, already is going to be down on grip, it needs all of the extra help it can get. And when it comes to a truck like this, not having drive going to the front axle it's honestly like, it's a huge issue. This is pitiful. I'm sorry, but like, this is really bad. This is really, really bad. And remember, this is just the shallow stuff. This is not like going and diving into some of the mud lanes over there. This is like the introductory mud. Yeah, this has me really worried, because if you were to take this in this current configuration to somewhere in the campaign like, oh, I don't know, like Tamir, for example, you would be effectively beached in an instant. I mean, hell, even some areas in the new Scandinavia DLC would pretty effectively beach this thing in almost no time at all. I wonder if we were to take it over these logs, I wonder if it would get like either stuck or high centered or into a position that it couldn't get itself out of. I mean, so far it's doing okay. Although this is gonna be the... Oh? Oh, we're fine. I honestly didn't actually think it was gonna be happy with that. I kind of figured it was gonna say no. I do want to try the hill climb test though, because I feel like if we try the hill climb test, it's either going to be like a absolute success or it's going to be an absolute dismal failure. And I'm not going to say quite yet which one I think it's going to be, because I'm not entirely sure. Honestly, it's got the speed. Just needs to make it over. So I guess really as long as it doesn't have to deal with mud, it seems like it's fine. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put that tag axle down. And let's just bring you around this corner, because I almost feel like maybe I was a little bit too harsh on this thing in the beginning. Because honestly, the more I drive it, the more I almost feel like, yes, it's not necessarily going to be all that great in mud or like super gnarly off-roading. But then again, maybe that's not necessarily what it was intended for. Although the only issue that I have with that is the fact that if off-road and, you know, gnarly terrain is not what this truck was intended for, then I feel like the presentation of how they marketed it, honestly, might have been a little bit off. Because it's honestly undeniable that it does pull really, really well. It works really, really well. It's got a lot of good things going for it. It almost seems like they marketed it and presented it as, you know, something that you would add to your very off-road focused fleet, which it's clearly not for that. And y'all know I couldn't let this video end without sending this thing off the bridge jump. Let's go. 6th, 7th. Oh, it's actually properly fast with this highway transmission. Oh my God! I think it hit the ground so hard that we ground glitched. Look at the front axle. Well, it's definitely staying put. Like that's where this truck is going to stay for the foreseeable future. Look at that. Oh, we broke it. We didn't just hit the bridge jump. We absolutely sent the bridge jump. But if y'all enjoyed this video, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Are you going to be buying this thing yourselves, or are you going to be skipping it? And I will see y'all in the next one. Talk to y'all later. Hope y'all enjoyed.